6:30 Thursday evening. Welcome to Vendée Flash news this evening. Well, at the top of the fleet, Yannick Besthaven increasing his lead. He's got the biggest lead off the race so far, over 420 miles ahead of Charlie Dallin this evening. Dallin has picked up pace and is back ahead of Thomas Rion. These two still very close in the battle for second, about 15 miles of lateral separation. But the big news came in just before we went live at lunchtime. Pip Hare suffering damage to her port rudder stock, and she's having to replace the rudder. She has a spare rudder with her. If you're interested in how difficult and complex this is, then this is Pip Hare's explanation, a video she shot with her team on the pontoon here in Les Sables d'Olonne before the start.
A special old lady sea swimming hat.
The first problem we need to overcome changing the rudder is actually the buoyancy in the new rudder, because the rudder blade itself really wants to float, and so it's quite difficult to sink it down into the right orientation to get the stock through the hull. So what you can see us doing here is taking all the anchor chain out of the bow, and we've put it into that yellow container. And then we're going to hang the yellow container off the back of the boat from the boom. And then the idea is that the weight of that chain pulls the bottom of the rudder blade vertically down and enables me to put it in. So here you're watching me take the old rudder out. Most of this can be done from on the boat, and actually if I have to change a rudder at sea, it will be a lot easier to take the older rudder out, because there won't be so much buoyancy, assuming the rudder will be broken. So here we're sort of having to smack it a bit to get it out, but I think with the broken rudder it should come quite a lot easier. And then the chain there is going off the back of the boat for a second time. Reason for that is we didn't use enough chain the first time, didn't have enough weight pulling the rudder down. So you can see it just flopping off the back of the boat. And there's the old rudder coming out. So the chain dragged the old rudder stock down through the hole, and then you can see how buoyant it is. I released it in the water, and there's the old rudder coming out. Pop it up onto the side, give it a little clean. Now I'm ready to put the new one back in again. So I'm just prepping up the ropes there. The one I'm tying is the rope that will be attached to the bottom of the rudder.
So old rudder's out. Now we're just prepping up the new one to put it in. So line number one onto here goes onto the top of the stock, and this is the one that's going to pull the stock back up through here. And we're just being super careful at the moment so we don't damage it.
So you can see we made a special sort of garter to fit the rudder, and the rudder is going to be stored in a padded bag with that garter on it already, so I'm ready to go if I need to change them. So here we are dropping the new rudder into the water. You can see how the chain is just pulling it vertically down there, and then the red rope is going through the hull, so through the top bearing, through the bottom bearing, and that's what I'll pull the stock back into the boat with. So now I'm just pulling the stock into the boat, and once the stock's located with the red rope, then I can ease the green rope off, which is the one that's pulling the rudder down.
So then you probably need to ease your green a bit.
Just sort of balance the two to allow the natural buoyancy in the rudder to push it back up through the hole.
She's coming up.
And there we go, final little bit.
Success.
Well, I don't know about you, that looks complicated enough for me at the pontoon in Les Sables d'Olonne before the start. I don't know what it's going to be like to try and do it at sea. I know that Alan Rura did it on the same boat in the South Indian Ocean last year, or in the last edition, sorry, and was successful. A little bit more wind for Alan at the time. but a big and complex operation for Pip. We believe from her team there's a weather window around about 1 o'clock tomorrow morning that she may try then, but I'm sure we'll get some news in the morning and we'll get an update on our Vendée news show at midday 30 UTC and 1:30 here in France. In the meantime, let's look at the rankings, and as I said, Yannick Besthaven leading by 429 miles this evening ahead of Charlie Dallin. Dallin back up to second. He is only a matter of 6 miles ahead of Thomas Riong now. Riong was in second in the middle part of the day, but he's third at the moment, but a good comeback from Thomas Riong. Damien Sagan is fourth. Now Louis Burton in fifth. Louis Burton going well, 11.5 knots. In the ranking, going up to 6 o'clock this evening. Benjamin Dutroux 6th, Jean Le Cam in 7th, Giancarlo Padotti in 8th, Boris Herrmann in 9th. We had a little word from Boris just before it came live, and he was saying that he's doing kind of an upwind angle of about 70 degrees just on foiling and no more, just trying to keep the boat at that angle. He was doing about, in fact he told me he was doing about 15, 16 knots, and that's indeed what he's doing on the speed gun. So just trying to keep the boat foiling at the right angle, and he's taken a couple of places since Cape Horn. He's up to 9th and in good spirits. Maxime Sorel in 10th, Isabelle Josh in 11th, Pip Hare in 15th, doing 7 knots just now. Unfortunately, Alan Rura in La Fabrique is only about 20 miles behind and doing 14.3 knots this evening. And so almost certainly Alan will get past Pip while she's in this state just now. In the meantime, Jeremy Bayou in 18th, doing 16 knots. Didac Costa 20th place, doing 14 knots. We're hoping to have Didac on the show tomorrow. Kojiro Shiraishi 12.9 knots in 21st. Miranda Merrin steady as ever, well, a little bit slowed just now, doing 5.8 knots in very light winds just now. She's had been slow most of the day on Campagne de France in 23rd. Ari Hosella 13.4 knots this evening in 26th. And Sebastian Destremo seems to be slowed once again, doing about 3 knots, and we'll no doubt get an update from him, which we'll give you over the course of tomorrow. Our guest tomorrow is Marcus Hutchison of the Thomas Riong racing team. He's lying third just now, but very close. We'll see how that goes overnight. Join us tomorrow with the Vendée live show, 12:30 UTC, 13:30 here in France. Any questions for Marcus, put them on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. We'll see you tomorrow.